Greetings, free thinkers. Welcome to the Hoggcast. How are you doing today? Hope you're doing fine. I certainly am. So what do we have for you on today's episode? We have for you a worrying one, a bit of an unusual one, a one that is a sign of the times. Now, once upon a time, it was your right as a parent to raise your children any way you liked, and the state should never get involved in that unless there is a ward of the court situation, which usually, of course, only happens as a last resort. And that's only to keep the child safe from outside influences. Okay, we now seem to live in an age where outside influences seem to take priority in the life of children over the parents. Now, this woman here, what we're going to watch, this clip, she's explaining how someone close to her, a father, has been arrested, and he's even getting restraining order put on him because he referred to his daughter as his daughter. Now, his daughter, who is not old enough to buy alcohol, lottery tickets, even drive a car, right? She's only 14, is transgender, okay? And she is turning into a boy. That's not how the father remembered his daughter. Now, there is claims that the school and, as I said earlier, outside influences are pushing this type of stuff and they're glorifying this type of stuff for young people. Now, the thing is, as I said, young people are not old enough to buy cigarettes or alcohol or join the army or anything like that. And people make mistakes when they're young. Now, you and me, when we get older, we can say, oh, well, we made mistakes when we were young, but we learnt and we got over things and we changed things. When you have gender assignment or reassignment surgery, you can't take that back. That's something that cannot be taken back. And people's brains aren't fully put together until they're 20, sometimes 30 years old. Okay, so we're meddling with things, in my opinion, that shouldn't be meddled with. Now let's hear this man's story. He has been arrested for trying to raise his own children the way he wants to raise them. Of course, the liberal left won't let you do that. So let's get into this clip now. If you haven't yet though, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell and share this video around. Let's get this seen. YouTube sections off independent commentary channels, so if you could share this around, it would really help this little channel grow. Okay, let's go. Okay, so let's listen to what she's got to say.
So a father is just being sent to prison in Canada because he referred to his 14-year-old daughter as his daughter. He was given a court order which said he was not allowed to do such. He had to prescribe to the gender that she chose. He was of the belief that the school was really pushing for her to transition and all these things, and he was incredibly fearful of the medical and ongoing biological implications that hormone therapy treatments and transition could cause at such a young age. He felt it was necessary to protect her because she was a child and a minor. And through the court proceedings about all of this, he continued to refer to her as his daughter, and now he's sitting in prison. The precedence of this is incredibly scary. And if you think it's not coming for you and your kids, you're wrong.
And that's the truth. You know, there's an old saying, I can't remember exactly how it goes, but I believe it goes something along the lines of, it only takes good men to do nothing for evil men to succeed. And that's the truth. And you could apply it to people, not just men. You can apply it to anyone. And she's right when she says that they are coming for you. Now, we're going to look at the document. Document's public knowledge, by the way. It's a public record. I'll leave it linked in the description below. We'll have a glance at it, but you can read through it in detail if you like in your own leisure time. Now, let me tell you something. How can we allow people who are not old enough to change their life in ways such as deciding to start drinking at the legal age, of course, decide to start smoking, decide to start a family? I know there's the whole issue of children having children. We stop them from doing that. We have laws to stop them doing that. We have laws to... There's a whole host of initiatives to stop young people starting families before they're old enough to make that decision. We do it with everything except, for some reason, gender reassignment surgery, right? Gender realignment surgery. Why? I remember what in my opinion is what I would describe as a horror story. How a mother sent her daughter off to university. She was older than this one. This is an unrelated case. She was actually old enough to make her own decisions. And she chose to do that. Absolutely fine. If you're old enough and you want to do that, that's your choice. However, she never said anything about this before she went off to university. We know that this type of thing is being heavily pushed, this cultural Marxist indoctrination in the education system, and it gets worse the higher up the education you go. And this mother was horrified to discover that 4 years later, when she'd come back from university, she was completely different. She wasn't her daughter anymore. In fact, she was going by the name of Josh. She'd had, I don't want to go into too much detail, but she'd had gender reassignment surgery that was quite extreme. We'll leave it at that on that part. And it's just demanded of the mother to accept the daughter, right? To accept the son now. The daughter's turned into a son. Not many people out there can deal with that. If they've lived their whole life knowing their daughter to be their beautiful little daughter, or their son to be their mini-me, junior, as fathers often call their sons, and then the roles completely reverse. The daughter becomes the son and the son becomes the daughter. And then society as it is, this cancel culture society, modern left wing, usually young millennial whites who don't have children of their own, so don't understand, will get up in their face and demand they accept it. They will browbeat them into accepting the situation. And you'll be some sort of bigot if you find it frightening. Imagine how frightening that mum must have felt for the person who for 19 years was her daughter. Then they come home from university and now all of a sudden, I'm Josh. You're going to accept me as Josh. You're going to refer to me as Josh. And if you don't, you are XYZ. Is that the type of society that can last 1,000 years? Is that the type of society that's healthy, that will flourish? I don't think it is. Again, if you're old enough to make that decision, fine. But going back to this instance here that this young lady here is talking about, the gentleman in Canada, he's in jail for referring to his daughter as a daughter, whereas she wants to be a son. I can remember when I was young, right? I mean very young, okay? This is before the multiculturalism age. And when I moved into a shelter, my mum and dad split up. I moved into a shelter, homeless shelter with my mum, and there was a lot of migrants in there. This is at the tail end of the 1980s. So, you know, it's a different world then, right? And I'd never seen people from Africa before. And then when I did, who were living in the shelter, I wanted to be black. Because I'd never seen them before, they looked all exotic, and I wanted to be one, right? Today, I mean, what would they do? If I was that age now, today, what would they do? Would they give me skin realignment surgery? Would they push all kinds of things on me? What would they do? Where does this stuff go? Why isn't there a limit? There never seems to be a limit on anything. It's just pedal to the metal, keep on going down that route of nihilism. Anyway, let's move on to the court document, which is public knowledge. I'll link it in the description below. We'll look at a few things, but if you want to look at it in detail, by all means do. It's a public record, like all court documents are. Okay, so it says, introduction. AB, a 14-year-old transgender boy, or who was a girl, applied for protection order to restrain his father CD from publishing, speaking, or giving interviews about the case, AB's personal and medical information. He also seeks an order that would restrain his father from sharing related documents or information with other persons, including media and social media organisations who might publish that media. CD opposes this relief on the basis that the public attention that he brings to AB's case through interviews, publishing information, and publicly speaking about this case is essential to society and to his rights as a parent. And isn't that the case, in my opinion? So this is a father who doesn't want to think of his beautiful little girl as becoming a boy. That is his right to do that. It's his child. I know we live in a society now where even your children don't belong to you anymore. They belong to the young millennial set who seem to infest the public sector. But they don't understand what it's like to raise a child, you know. So he's even acknowledged that AB, who's the trans daughter son, says here, CB acknowledges that AB identifies as a male, but fundamentally does not accept AB's chosen gender identity. You know, it's always on, well, you know, you have to just accept this, accept that. That was his little girl. She probably spent the previous 13 years of her life, from she was born up until all of this started, as his, you know, little girl, probably wearing pink ribbons in her hair and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, she changes. Why now? Have you noticed that in Western cultures, specifically Western cultures, this type of thing, the rise in transgender issues, has exploded over the past 5-10 years. If you look at the charts and the statistics, it is an upwards curve. It looks like a mountain. If you look at the stats, it looks like Mount Everest, the way it just goes up. Even to the point where there is an inquiry in my home country, Britain. There's an inquiry at the moment over why it's happening now, all of a sudden. This explosion in cases. Okay, it shows you there is something underlying all of this. There's something happening, right? There is a culture revolving around things that are out of or getting out of control. There are those who say that this is, and historically speaking, that may be accurate, a sign that society is crumbling. It's happened repeatedly in the past. I'm not saying this is the case, but there is historical evidence. People will put that argument forward, and they have some merit at least, when they say that even as far back as the Romans, when the Roman Empire started to collapse, in the very last stages of their civilization, very exotic forms appeared, including trans people. But there was all kinds of, like today we have people identifying as attack helicopters. As far back as the Roman Empire, there were very similar things happening, and it was generally a purportant of the sign that maybe society is not doing so well, that these free radicals are starting to appear. You know, I feel sorry for the man, the father. He is in a bad situation, really, if you think about it. He has the world against him. He can't win, literally can't win. His child's not his anymore, even though she's not old enough to make her own decisions for herself. That's taken away now. The state will make your decision for you, providing that the child makes the decision the state wants to make. The state will back them up 100%. That's scary. That's what happens in socialist countries, communist countries, where Your own progeny isn't even yours anymore. Your own offspring. I'll leave the case linked in the description below. You can go through it. There's several pages. It goes into a lot of things regarding the case. It's all public information. AB swore his own affidavit stating he was desperate to start the treatment. He states that every day his body develops more femaleness and he looks less and less like a boy. It causes him distress and exposes him to the risk of all of the bad stuff. So AB's mother, who is... I find very often it's the mothers that will push for these changes to happen. AB's mother's evidence included her belief that, quote, if his treatment is put on hold, I am terrified that AB will conclude that there is no hope and will end himself. Obviously, nobody wants that to happen, of course. So, what he's saying is, give me the treatment. What she's saying is, give my son or daughter, whichever it is now, it's confusing. But basically, what she's saying is, give my child the treatment, or he will do something, or she will do something nobody wants him to do, if you know what I mean. This part here, nobody wants that, especially for a child. Who would want that? But that's what I'm saying, it's pedal to the metal. There's no middle ground, there's no incline, it's just 0 to 100. Give me what I want, give me it now, or that. Or my child will end themselves. What a horrible thing to say. That is the epitome of emotional blackmail. The absolute epitome of it. And the father, who is in jail at the moment, probably feels miserable, probably hates himself, and for what? All for loving his daughter, who he raised. Terrible. I just feel so sorry for the whole situation. Really, I do. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'll leave it linked in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't yet, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.